Hey, I'm Bonner Harris, and welcome to Door Talk.
Hey, welcome back to Door Talk. I'm Matt Gaines, and on today's program, yet again, I've got Mr. Jacob Freese from VT Industries. He's the territory sales manager right here for the Southeast. Jacob, welcome back.
Thank you, Matt. I'm happy to be back. Appreciate you guys having me on again. Looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and thank you so much. Last time we talked about the different core types available from VT Industries and all the ins and outs of what you guys offer as far as your products. Now we're going to kind of specify or specifically talk about your model numbers. That way, if there's contractors, architects, or they're again door consultants that are tuning in, they can know and understand how you guys structure your model numbers and maybe a little bit of how to see what model numbers mean what. So let's get right into that. What do you want to start out by talking about with model numbers?
So we'll just kind of start it out like we did last time. I know last time we talked about the different core types. So the good thing about this conversation following up to that is that the model numbers actually specify to a specific core type.
Really?
Okay. Yep. So we can if you're looking at a VT model number, that's actually going to denote a specific core type that is actually being used on that door. So let's say particle core, which what we talked about last time is going to be your 5502 and then also your 404. So the difference of these two options is going to be one is veneer and one is plastic laminate. Okay. So the 5502 is going to be for wood veneer faced doors, and the 404 is going to be for anything using plastic laminate. And then also for particle core, we discussed last time a little bit about 3-ply versus 5-ply.
Right.
With plastic laminate, you can use 3-ply on a particle core door, and that's going to be denoted as a 303. So 303 and then 404 are our plastic laminate door types that are using particle board cores. So the 303 is actually going to be your particle board 3-ply, and the 404 is going to be your particle board 5-ply.
Interesting. All right. So I've seen occasionally in your model numbers the letter P represented and comes out. What does the letter P mean for your model numbers?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. We get that a fair amount. So the P in our model numbers, you'll see it called out sometimes as 3P03, 8P08. And what that P references is that door is going to have intumescent installed in it. So it's going to be essentially saying positive. So positive pressure.
Positive pressure. Okay.
Yep. So that means that door is going to have a piece of thin black intumescent in there. And for those that don't know what intumescent is, it's actually a very thin piece of black a strip that goes in between the edge of the door and the edge banding on fire rated doors. And once that intumescent reaches a specific temperature, it's going to start to swell and expand. So I've actually got a piece right here. Folks might not be able to see it, but once that piece starts to expand, right in there, thin black line there, once that piece starts to expand, the door is going to seal any gaps in the opening. So it'll hold itself in that opening longer than normal, because it's going to seal up those gaps and kind of hold itself in that opening so that it can meet a higher fire rating.
Well, that's interesting. So I heard one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that intumescent material, isn't that similar to what as kids we used to buy at the fireworks stand, the little black snakes that crawl? It's the same kind of principle. It's when heated, it expands, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It's and that brings back great memories of the 4th of July.
Yeah.
It is. It's that little black snake thing that when you light it up, it starts to swirl around and expands. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. So it's exactly kind of like that. Once it hits a certain temperature, it's not going to snake around and be as exciting as that, but it is going
Right.
to just expand itself
Expand
and
it slightly, right?
and kind of seal itself in the door. Yeah,
Yeah, I could just see
great
the door.
reference. That's
I
a
could
great
see the
reference.
door just kind of crawling through the opening there.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, there might not be a good situation if that happens.
yeah, exactly. No, I just remember those things as kids. You used to, you light them on fire and they would forever leave the concrete stained with that black spot
Oh
there.
yeah.
So, interesting. Okay, well, same concept, but
Yep.
it's a material that expands to make that door fit tight in that joint. So that's interesting. So anywhere the letter P is depicted, it's got that for positive
Correct.
pressure.
Yep.
Okay, what else you got for model numbers?
So for other model numbers, I know the other core types we talked about. We talked about agrofiber, which is actually going to be denoted as 5509.
Okay.
And then you also see it in relation to that P we just talked about as 5P09 as well. And then for the plastic laminate option for agrofiber, you're going to see it referenced as 909. So 909 is going to be your plastic laminate options for agrofiber core.
Okay.
And then 5509 is going to be your wood veneer options using an agrofiber core.
Okay. Easy enough. All right. So what about your stave lumber?
So the stave lumber, like we talked about, which is pretty outdated product, we still do see it. That's going to be denoted as a 5507 when you're using a wood veneer product. If you're using plastic laminate on stave lumber core, it's going to be denoted as a 707.
Okay. All right. And that's pretty simplistic there again, why?
Pretty simple.
That's
Yep.
it. All right. So what about the structural composite?
So the structural composite, which is a very popular core option, especially when you're using, full glass light kits or 45-minute doors, that's going to be denoted as a 5508. And a 5508 is going to be your wood veneer option for structural composite lumber cores.
Okay.
The plastic laminate option is going to be referenced as 808. So you've got 808, which is your plastic laminate option for structural composite lumber core, and then 5508, which is going to be your wood veneer option.
Okay. And those also would be available with that intumescent, I guess, you can put the P in there somewhere?
Correct. Yeah. So what you would see on that one is if you've got, a pair of doors or a 45-minute door, you're going to have that P referenced in there, and it'll be 8P08, 5P08. And that's just going to mean that you've got that intumescent going into that door.
Okay. All right. So then on your fire doors, how are these labeled and how are these numbered?
It's a good question as well. The VT fire doors, which like we talked about last time, VT's making our own fire cores. Those are going to be referenced as VFRE and PFRE. So as you can imagine and guess, pretty simple. V for veneer and P for plastic. So P is going to be for your plastic laminate doors are going to be the PFRE, and that's going to be for your 60-minute and 90-minute, and then also for sometimes a 45-minute door as hardware or any sort of elevation might require, and then also for any 45-minute pair as required, we'll get that PFRE or VFRE, which is the VT fire cores, veneer or plastic laminate.
So that kind of brings me into my next question. Is there anything that kind of separates your model numbers between the veneer and the PL? And I guess that would be that 55 and those other numbers there, correct?
Correct. Yep. So one thing I always like to tell people is if you're seeing a 5 in front of that model number, that denotes that it's going to be a wood veneer door. So if you've got like our 5509, our 5508, our 5507, anything with a 5 in front of it is going to be wood veneer automatically. So anything without a 5, of course, is going to be plastic laminate.
Okay.
So always a good telltale, especially for contractors and architects, anybody in the field, if they're looking up at the top label of a door. So on that top label of your door, you're going to have a 5-inch wide by 1-inch label that's going to
Right.
be the manufacturer's label. If you see up there, it's going to have the VT model number, and that'll tell you what kind of core type you've got, what kind of door type you're using, and also a dead giveaway. If it's got a 5 in front of it, it's a wood veneer door. If not, it's going to be plastic laminate.
Perfect. Perfect. And that's easy enough. I mean, it's simple,
Yeah,
easy for them to see in the field, easy for us to identify. And
exactly.
that also makes it easy, for example, when we get a shipment of 100 doors in here on pallets and we're having to go through every one, we can, if in this wing of the hospital they're doing plastic laminate, but in this wing of the hospital they're doing a specialized veneer, it's easy for our guys to tell just from by looking at the edge of the door what that corresponding door number is supposed to be versus what it was coming in, whether it was ordered correctly or received correctly or
Exactly.
whatever. It's easy for our guys to check if it's on that label. So that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
And these days, with some of the laminates that those guys are making, some of the laminate manufacturers are putting out there, it's hard to tell sometimes if it is a
Yeah.
wood veneer or a plastic laminate,
Yeah.
especially to those that don't know. It can be pretty difficult with the advances that they've made in PLAM lately.
Yeah.
It can be pretty hard to tell the difference
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's pretty impressive. I have to say, when you can see what they're capable of doing with a plastic laminate and
Yep.
comparing it to even a wood veneer, I've had some experience with finishing doors in my past, staining and clearing and different things. So I know the process that goes into it. But when I can see a plastic laminate that looks just as good as something, that has been hand finished, it's incredible. It's
It is
incredible.
always incredible. So a good way of noting the difference and knowing what's what out there in the field.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Jacob, do you have anything else that we need to know about model numbers?
No, I think that pretty much covers it for VT there. Those are going to be the main ones you're always going to be looking at. Of course, there are lead line and STC and other ones out there, but as needed, you can always contact your VT team or contact Warren, and they'll get with us, and we can work through each option there.
Absolutely. Well, Jacob, thanks yet again for being on the program today. I know that you're going to be with us for one more episode where we're actually going to talk about the differences between veneers, what available species of woods and veneers that you have versus what's available in plastic laminate, and that'll be on the next program. So tune in. But Jacob, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you again, Matt. I look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much.